the next segment I want to talk about is spiritual materialism. What the heck does that mean? It means you can be spiritual and you can be rich. You can be rich and you can be enlightened. You can be a wonderful, good person who is self-realized, who is compassionate, who's full of love, who's highly spiritually evolved, and live in a mansion, drive fancy cars, have expensive clothes and jewelry, fly first class, have your own private jet. You can be as wealthy as you want and be spiritually enlightened. They're not counter to each other. They're not mutually exclusive. It's one or the other. I'm either going to make money or I'm going to be spiritual. Gurus renounce, and they talk about renunciation, renounce material things. It's misunderstood. How can you have both? One simple dynamic for you to understand. The word attachment. If you want to be spiritual, which means living in bliss, having no buttons that people can push, nothing ever gets triggered, whatever happens in the external world to you, whatever people do to you or don't do, you get a lawsuit, you break your leg, somebody in your family dies, your business collapses, your house gets destroyed in a fire or a hurricane, any type of disaster that happens, somebody breaks up with you, somebody cheats on you, there's a lot of things that give us pain. The great guru Buddha said pain in life is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Suffering is a choice. We'll experience pain, and we should experience the plethora of emotions because we're in the matrix. If we're eating that food that we like, I love it. Enjoy the emotion. The difference is suffering is optional. You suffer optionally when you are detached from this world, when you are a witness or an observer to yourself going through the play of consciousness. And you're actually a witness or an observer of yourself experiencing pain, happiness, pleasure, frustration. It's kind of like when we were kids and we said, I want to be scared. Take me to the haunted house. And you go to the haunted house and you are scared out of your mind. And you love being scared because you're actually a witness to yourself being scared. You get on the roller coaster and you're both screaming because you're frightened and laughing at the same time because you love feeling afraid. You love the feeling of being scared. You go to a movie and you come out of the movie and it was a sad movie. Somebody died and it was just it was a tear jerker, as we say. And you come out of the movie and you're crying. And I remember I was with a couple gals. There was three friends of mine and they wanted to go see this particular movie and I went with them. There's 3 women and myself, and we came out, and all 3 of the girls are crying because it was kind of a sad movie. And I'm looking, are you okay? And they go, oh, I loved it. The movie was so good. And they were all crying. I go, so you feel good about crying? Yeah, I mean, it was just a great movie. They loved the movie, and they loved that they could express a negative emotion. This is being an observer and a witness to life. This is experiencing pain. They're crying, but not suffering. We do this. You can do this. So attachment is the key. Spiritually enlightened people who attain great amounts of wealth or material things or physical pleasures understand that you love people and you use money instead of loving money and using people. Because it is true, the love of money is the root of all evil. Because when you love money, you're putting money above God. You're putting money above the source of all supply, which is not money. The source of all supply is the universe, consciousness, awareness, love, God. That's the source of all our supply. And God works through people. Money is simply an expression and an extension of God. Money is not separate. Money is God. It's consciousness. Physical coins, money, digital numbers on your account, cryptocurrency. It's an extension and an expression of God in the same way that a bird is, or you are, or a flower is. It's just energy. It's an expression and an extension of the oneness. Remember, show me where God is. No, show me where God is not. Well, if God is in this cup, because this cup is an extension and expression of the oneness, if God is in money, then why should we renounce it? Why should we renounce anything? But we shouldn't love it, which means we shouldn't be attached to it. In my particular life, I had acquired a lot of stuff. I had dozens of cars worth millions of dollars. I had homes in Zurich and mansions in Sydney, Australia, New York City, Chicago, Dallas, Florida, Beverly Hills, Ojai, California. And many of these places I had at the exact same time, and they were staffed with people, and many of them had very expensive antiques, fine works of art, and so forth. When this was all taken away from me by the government, people said, oh my God, how are you dealing with the fact that the government is taking away everything that you own? I said, I don't feel anything because I'm not attached to any of that stuff. I've just been enjoying it. And quite frankly, it's somebody else's turn to enjoy it. I'll get some other stuff because I'm not attached to it. When you have no attachment, when that thing leaves, it doesn't affect you. But when you get attached to material things, it becomes a part of you. And if you were to lose it, or the thought of losing it is like the thought of losing an arm, because it's actually an extension of your energy. You're attached to it. This is why hoarders are so insane when it comes to their stuff, because they actually extend their energy into that little box of bottle caps. And there was a show called Hoarders, and walked into this guy's house, and you've never seen anything like it. You thought this has to be staged, and it wasn't. You couldn't walk. There was no place to sit. There was just boxes and boxes of stuff and stuff in every room piled to the ceiling, in the garage, and it was just nothing but junk. And in this particular show, the host says, okay, we're going to start clearing some things away. And he goes to the camera, he goes, we have to start with something that's really mundane, that has no sentimental value, because we start small and then the person can build up. So they looked around and they found this little shoebox with a couple dozen bottle caps. It was a shoebox with a couple dozen old, bent bottle caps that had no historical significance and no value whatsoever. It wasn't like they were antiques. It was junk. You couldn't even sell it for scrap metal. It was worth nothing. It has no sentimental value. Oh, this is a bottle cap from my first Coca-Cola. No, there was no sentimental value. The guy got them at a garage sale or something. It was somebody else's bottle caps because they asked him, where'd you get these? They weren't his. There's no sentimental value whatsoever. So they said, well, we're going to get rid of the bottle caps. And the guy looked and he almost started shaking. No, we can't get rid of those bottle caps. No, I can't let those go. He says, well, why? I mean, there's no significance. You said you bought them at like a flea market or a garage sale. I know, but I can't let go of those. I just can't. I just can't. The thought of those leaving, I just can't do it. I can't do it. And it was true. He couldn't, because his energy permeated those bottle caps. And if you got rid of those bottle caps, you might as well just chop off a few of his fingers. Say, oh, can we just chop off a few of your fingers? No, you can't do that. They're my fingers. That's attachment. The key to material spiritualism is not being attached to things. And there are ways that you can detach energetically. I teach people how to do that. There are ways to detach. And when you detach, you are free. You are liberated. You're liberated because you can love people first. And everything in your life revolves around compassion for other people and love for other people and connection with Source as your number one priority in life and as a way to express who you are. And you are a creative being. You then will manifest that in various things. You may manifest it in producing children and raising kids and making a nice home or being a good spouse, being a good friend, working hard in a job, doing art, learning some creative endeavor, whether it's learning a language or a musical instrument or growing things or cooking. These are all creative endeavors, or making money. And you can acquire things in life and enjoy them in the same way that if you were to walk through a park and you see a beautiful flower and you stop. I was with a very famous artist. We were in Hawaii. And we were walking through the botanical gardens in Hilo. And she's very, very famous in Hollywood. And I was walking through looking at the flowers, and she was walking, and she would see a flower and she would stop. And she said, "Kevin, look at this flower." And we would look at it, and I would look at it and say, "Yeah, it's beautiful." And she would say, "Isn't it exquisite?" And she would just talk about it and look at it and take a picture of it and just admire it and enjoy it. And I looked at her and I'm going, she's so connected with that, but she's not attached. She's enjoying that without attachment. And then we walked on to the next one. And then she did the same thing. We went through this botanical garden. It would have taken me 30 minutes. It took us 3 hours. Because she was enjoying everything without attachment. So if you can do that same thing with stuff, a car that you buy, a piece of jewelry that you have, an artifact that you have, an heirloom that you have, a favorite piece of art, your home, or are you attached to a person? If you live life without attachment, you are free. You can have stuff. You can make money. You can have pleasures in life. You can enjoy all the material things that this physical world has to offer and be spiritually enlightened. The simple trick is not being attached to the physical things. Love people, use things, not the other way around. Do this, and you're on the road to a magnificent life of bliss, joy, and happiness. And I want to read one more time, in a new unit of time, the state of consciousness. When a being is fully conscious and aware, they transcend the illusion of the physical material world of duality. Duality is seeing everything as independent, such as a me and you, a this and that, a here and there, where everything and everyone is separate and not connected. When a being is aware that everything and everyone is connected and essentially one, then that being becomes aware of the self, the non-physical you, the one consciousness or energy. An inner state is then attained where there is nothing to trigger irrational and uncontrollable emotions, feelings, or thoughts. No one can push your buttons because you no longer have buttons to push. You become free and liberated. Imagine being supremely confident but not arrogant or conceited. Imagine having such total knowingness that you never need to be affirmed or validated by anyone. Imagine never feeling the need to convince anyone or prove anything. Think about never needing to argue or debate anyone about anything. Dream about never having the need to feel respected, never needing to be understood, never needing to be recognized or given credit for something you did. Imagine never being affected by what someone says or does to you, or doesn't say or do. Imagine having total clarity and certainty but remaining completely humble, while at the same time never having any doubts, fears, or worries about anything. Dream about always feeling joy inside and never being affected by external conditions, situations, events, people, or circumstances. Imagine being amused by everything and everyone while always having an inner laugh and smile, for you actually see everyone and everything as simply an expression and extension of the one universal consciousness that is all that is. And everything in life is just a play of that one universal consciousness. Think about how your life would always be if you were feeling lighthearted and cheerful all the time, without any concerns or stress, and never feeling the need to change anyone or anything in order to make you happy. Imagine being anchored in a state of peace, bliss, and certainty, regardless of what is happening in your life. Imagine being enlightened and self-realized. You can be this person.